Brother Muaz.
Brother Ibrahim, everything is okay.
I think Dr. Muhammad Muainuddin is on the attendees list.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
He is now. He is here now.
Okay.
Okay. Mic with you, brother.
All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise and thanks due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious and the most merciful, as He made us possible today to gather on this online forum and webinar. Inshallah. May our prayers, peace and blessing upon our Prophet, our leader Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and upon his companions. Inshallah. A very welcome and a very good evening to everyone who have joined us today. I hope each one of us is in a good health, as we are still in the COVID-19 situation. It is still a very difficult surrounding and circumstances to all of us around the world. The infection rate is still high in some countries, mashallah. May Allah bless us and protect us from any infection, disease, and illness. My name is Ibrahim Adham. I'm from Aukaf Holdings, Malaysia. And I am very pleased to welcome all of you to this forum, which called Indian Subcontinent Wakaf Forum, which organized by Wakaf Dialogue Forum and International Institute of Islamic Wakaf, IIIW. Before we start, I would like to have a special mention to Dr. Sami Salahat and Dr. Mustafa, and also our brother Muaz, through International Institute of Islamic Wakaf. They have been working very hard and very committed in developing and propagating Wakaf on international level, as they want to bring Wakaf sector to a greater height. Thank you, Dr. Sami and Dr. Mustafa. Just to mention, if any of the respected audience that have been following the International Institute of Islamic Wakaf Facebook, you will have all the recordings and lists of past forums discussing about Wakaf development all over the world. International Institute of Islamic Wakaf have been organizing this series of forums for many years. And for the past 3 months, they have been organizing Wakaf Forum, specifically discussing Wakaf development according to regional and continents. They have been organizing Oman and Bahrain Wakaf Forum, Sham and Iraq Wakaf Forum, Al-Aqsa Wakaf Forum, Southern African Wakaf Forum, Turkey and Balkans Wakaf Forum, as well as Southeast Asia and Australia Wakaf Forum. Inshallah, by watching all of these recorded series of forums produced by International Institute of Islamic Wakaf, inshallah, we can grasp and have a better understanding of development of Wakaf all over the world, where the invited prominent speakers share their knowledge and practice that have been contributing to Wakaf sector in their respective countries. And today, inshallah, we have the pleasure to hear presentation and to discuss and to elaborate further on Wakaf development by these prominent speakers and figures from specific Indian subcontinents, inclusive Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. I would like to introduce some of the speakers. I think all of them are here. All of the speakers and scholars are all highly qualified, and inshallah, we have with us today Dr. Rahman Khan from India, who is a former Union Minister in Government of India, who in charge of minority affairs, including Aukaf, and he is also an expert in Indian Wakaf. Welcome, Doctor. Secondly, we have Dr. Muhammad Muhyiddin Naim, from Sri Lanka, the Director of Fatih Institute for Higher Education. Welcome, Doctor. Thirdly, we have Dr. Muhammad Dr. Muhammad Muainuddin from Bangladesh. He is the Associate Professor in International Islamic University of Chittagong. Fourthly, we have Dr. Muhammad Uthman from Pakistan. He's from the Department of Economics, Institute of Business Management. And last but not least, we have Sister Aisha Sama from Maldives, who is the lecturer of Maldives National University. Each one of the speakers and scholars, either in the academic field or in practical terms, have made a big contribution in developing Waqf sector in their respective countries. We also have here today with us much respected Dr. Hisham Daftar. Welcome, Doctor. He's the member of the International Advisory Board of the International Institute of Islamic Waqf, and also a lecturer in Waqf at the Bahrain Institute of Banking and Financial Studies, BIBF. He is an expert of Waqf and has an extensive experience in Waqf sector, over 2 decades of practice in the development and investment of Waqf properties. Inshallah, for today, he will be our commentator. He will be our commenter, and he will give his much needed comment, advice, and guidance of Waqf after all of the speakers have presented their presentation. Before we start, I would like to highlight to the audience that the objective of this webinar is to give an idea about Waqf and to make documentation for Muslim Waqf in these Indian subcontinent areas. Some of the countries are much more advanced in Waqf development, rules and regulation compared to others. With this webinar today, it will be served as a conduit to all the information exchange. Inshallah, we can learn and share knowledge among the countries to help them to organize and structure themselves better in terms of Waqf development. So without further ado, just to recap how we will be proceeding in this webinar. Each of the speaker will be given about 10 minutes to present their presentation. I would like to remind the audience that there are 3 main themes that the presentation, and I hope our respected speakers can elaborate and cover all those themes and issues within the given time. The 3 main themes of the presentation: firstly, we will inshallah cover the management experience and law, which is regulated in Waqf sector in each respective countries. That is the first. The second one, we will present the amount of assets and its types, such as properties, movable or cash Waqf, and also its yield, and how each respective country has invested this asset. And last but not least, the challenge, and how did those respective countries deal with those challenges, and what are the plans to solve it. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our first speaker, inshallah, Dr. Rahman Khan, who I said just now, a former Union Minister of Government of India, in charge of minority affairs, including Aukaf. He is also a former Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, an upper house of Indian Parliament. He is a professional chartered accountant and educationist running several education institutions, and he is also the president of Indian Aukaf Foundation. Without further ado, I would give the floor to Dr. Rahman Khan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalatu alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalatu wassalamu ya Rasulul Kareem. Amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, I first of all congratulate the International Institute of Islamic Waqf for organizing this webinar and having a discussion with different participants from the Indian subcontinent. Awqaf, as we know, is a very important functions of Islamic charity. It is Allah's desire that a human being, a Muslim who earns, he has to pay something to the society. He has to share with the society. And this is Awqaf institution is one forum with which we dedicate for the future generation and the properties or real assets or movables or immovables, etc. And from the time the Islam has been emerged, thousands and lakhs of waqf have been established all over the world, particularly the Indian subcontinent. We have a large, huge waqf. If you take the entire Indian subcontinent, India alone has more than 600,000 waqf properties and waqf institutions. Similarly, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and all other things. If you take just an estimate, there may be more than about 1 to 1.5 million waqf properties. These are assets. These are valuable assets. Now, the problem of Awqaf all over the world, not only in India, not only Indian subcontinent, is the encroachment. Because usually waqf properties are not looked after properly. Some countries have a regulatory system, regulatory boards, regulatory mechanism, but they are not functioning properly. With the result, there is a huge encroachment of the waqf properties by illegal encroachers. And then the second object is the waqf properties are not developed, because unless you develop these properties, income, you can't, it is the purpose will not be served of establishing waqf and not getting the income. These are the two important issues which we have to discuss. Apart from the administrative issue and apart from the misuse of the waqf properties, the Muslim community has not showing any interest in protecting the waqf property. It is property which belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but nobody is interested in protecting it. They will be watching the properties, it is being misused, but nobody takes action. So the two major issues which we are facing in India is the encroachment and the development. India has taken some steps, regulatory mechanism. We have a waqf boards, statutory boards have been established all over the country. It is a central act, and each state has established a waqf boards, and these waqf boards are represented different services. They are supposed to regulate the waqf properties and develop the waqf properties. But unfortunately, the Muslim community is not taking any interest. So the waqf boards members who are elected or who are nominated, they are not from a very important sections of the society who can develop this waqf property. They are neglected, ignored. We have taken several measures in India. I was Minister for Minorities in charge of waqf. We amended the Indian Waqf Act and made any illegal possession of the waqf property by any person is a criminal offense and he should be prosecuted. And then it should be developed. So it is the board's responsibility to develop these properties. We have brought several legislations and amended the act, but still we are not successful in implementing it totally. So we have a long way to go, not only India, but entire world. If I say, if you have this thing, there is absolutely no interest, because basically the Muslim should take interest in protection of the waqf property. Now, wherever you go, we have debates, we have seminars, we have discussions, but if the community as such, they don't take any interest in protection of the property, because particularly in countries like India, where we have diverse societies, there are Hindus, there are Muslims, several religious dispensation are there, and in such that it is the community which has to protect the law is there that every waqf property has to develop and it should yield income and it should utilize for the benefit of the Muslim society in education, employment, and their health, etc., etc. But now most of the religious leaders are controlling the Waqf. Probably the religious leaders have everywhere. In India, it is very difficult because all religious leaders are dominating the Waqf properties or Waqf institution. They are not allowing any change or for any reform in the Waqf. Though law has been amended, regulatory mechanism has been there, but they are making it as an issue of communal issues, and then they are not following the guidelines and the rules. Now in India, we have a basic thing. Leasing is important because now work properties are being leased for development. So we have a leasing rules. We have formed the leasing rules, how the properties are leased and what should be the return on the value of the property. And these are things are defined in the lease rules also. And also we have established a national work development corporation. By only protecting the property, it is not possible to develop. We should have an institutional mechanism to develop the work properties. So we have established a national work development corporation. We should identify the basic properties which can be yield commercial revenue, which can develop and then yield income. So the National Work Development Corporation will develop this property. This is another step we have taken it. And some more changes are required in the Work Act, and the government of India is studying these few more changes which is necessary. And inshallah, this is the only hope, particularly in countries like India, to work for the economic and educational development of the Indian Muslims, for Indian diaspora here are also, and everybody should take interest in this, particularly in because except India and Nepal and Bhutan, all others are Muslim countries. But still, my study says that even Muslim countries, the position of the Awqaf is no better than what it is in India, because the religious class is dominating, and we don't know how to come out of this religious class who are dominating the work, and they are not allowing to develop the work, and then they are encouraged and misused and for the personal purposes. See, some of these problems we have to address, because we have fortunately our Supreme Court held that once you create a work, it is always a work. I mean, no authority can change the characteristic of the work. So this is a very important judgment of the Indian Supreme Court, which says that once a property is work, with always a work. This is a very important judgment which will help that anybody who encourages a work property, he cannot keep it. He can be removed, and encouragement can be removed. But the only thing is, the rider is the Muslim community as such. Is we have to take interest. This is the major problem which we are facing in India. Thank you.
Jazakallah khairan, barakallahu fiqh, Doctor. Thank you very much. Such an informative presentation, alhamdulillah. As you have mentioned, it is a long way to go for Waqaf development in India. There are challenges, a lot of challenges in developing law and regulation. But inshallah, I hope that this presentation by you can benefit the audience and people of India, inshallah, and for the Ummah. Okay, without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Muhammad Muhyiddin Naim from Sri Lanka. Is the director of Fatih Institute of Higher Education. Inshallah, he has a wide range of expertise in fiqh, comparative study in Islamic law and da'wah. I can see from his CV, he has been spent substantial amount of time of his career in Malaysia, where he was a senior lecturer in International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, and University of Petronas. Inshallah, Doctor, without further ado, over to you, Doctor. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I share the screen?
You can share it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about the Waqf situation in Sri Lanka. And first of all, I would like to thank the International Institute for Waqf, especially Dr. Mustafa Bassam. He contacted me to organize this event. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, today I want to share with you the Waqf in Sri Lanka regulations and practice. The Waqf, always be all of us know the meaning of Waqf and definitions of Waqf, the importance of Waqf in Islamic law. Therefore, I avoid to do Sri Lankan situation. So the Waqf, when is the concept of Waqf when it started from the time of Prophet Muhammad in Medina, there is not a long distance between starting of Waqf in Sri Lanka and in that Islamic states. So in Sri Lanka, we started the concept of Waqf in very early time before our independence. So there is a law
I think you mute your mic, Doctor.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right.
So the Waqf, there is a Waqf management in Sri Lanka. The Waqf include the major part of Waqf in Sri Lanka is masjid. All the masjid in Sri Lanka registered, or most of the masjid registered as a Waqf, and also the Islamic cultural sites or educational Islamic educational institute come under the trust or Waqf in Sri Lanka. So in the management of Waqf in the Islamic country, I think countries there is the Waqf ministry, but here in Sri Lanka or in the minorities countries there is a department under the ministry. So that ministry and minister manage the Waqf assets of minority Muslims here and some other countries. So we have some departments and the sections and all in the government hierarchy from the top to the lower level. So in Sri Lanka we have a Waqf board. This Waqf board come under the Minister of Religious Affairs. So our minister is for this religious affairs is our Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. So under him there is a cultural affairs unit. So under this cultural affair unit manage the Waqf through the Waqf board. So this Waqf board is the in charge here to manage all the Waqf assets in Sri Lanka. So as I mentioned, in Sri Lanka, we started the concept of Waqf from 1806. From that time, the Muslims of Sri Lanka started to think about the Waqf and the law of Waqf. So since that time, there is a ordinance for the Waqf. They started to write and prepare that ordinance in 1871 period. After that, in 1927 and 28, in that time, already they prepared the Waqf, the ordinance. So in 1931 until 1952, they take time to finalize everything, the law of the Waqf, and getting approval from the parliament. So the long process took here to come to the end of the law for the Waqf assets in Sri Lanka. So from that time, they managed the Waqf, and they passed the law of Waqf, Act of Waqf. In 1957, they already started to implement that law of Waqf. So this, the Act of Mosque and Waqf, including all these 7 parts. One of the part is focusing on the Muslim charitable trust or Waqf. So this part is specifically to manage the Waqf assets in Sri Lanka. There are many provisions and laws, including the management of Waqf. So in that act, clearly the act mentioned that Waqf properties have to use for the benefit of Muslims. So they mention here some benefits have and the areas of usage of Waqf. The first one is relief of poverty among Muslim society. So the poverty is one of the main goal of this Waqf. The second one is education. So they have to use the income from the Waqf to education of Muslim society. The third one is advancement of Islam generally. So they have to use for the da'wah, for the Islamic centers, and for the benefit of spreading Islam in the society. The next one is management of any mosque or Muslim streams and religious places and religious religious activities. And the next one is the purpose beneficial to Muslim. So any type of the needs for the Muslims, they can use the Waqf as the asset or income for that purpose. Last but least, other purpose organized by the Muslims or Muslim leaders, if they identify some areas to be used. So these are all these beneficial area mentioned in the Waqf Act. When we see the current situation of Sri Lanka, we are 2 million of Muslim population, 10% of the population. So we have more than 2,500 registered mosques here in Sri Lanka and 900 unregistered mosques. All these mosques have to come under the act of the Waqf. They have to register, but the Muslims, 900 mosques are still unregistered under the Waqf. So this is one of the another one is about 45 charities or trusts registered under the Muslims mosque. So only 45 Muslim institutions are registered under the law of Waqf, but all other masjids and Islamic school or the organizations are not registered yet under the Waqf law. So we still don't know what is the total asset of Waqf in Sri Lanka. So this is one of the situation of Waqf here. And also the madrasa, there are madrasas. Most of the madrasas have to come under the Waqf assets. So still these madrasas are not registered except few madrasas under the Waqf law. So the unregistered madrasas 132. So altogether 449 madrasas are there for Waqf asset, as a Waqf asset in Sri Lanka, but all these assets are unregistered under the Waqf law. So we cannot, we don't know now in Sri Lanka what are the amount of Waqf, total amount of Waqf in Sri Lanka. But there are some problem when I narrate this history and the story of Waqf in Sri Lanka. You can understand there are many problems and challenges we face throughout the history in the Waqf asset management. So to manage these Waqf problems, we have to educate our Muslim society about the beneficial of the Waqf and the system that dedicate the poverty, the importance of Waqf in the Islam and Islamic law. We have to educate first. The second one is we have to remove the obstacles. There are some obstacles are conceptual obstacles, others are practical obstacles. We have to remove all these obstacles to build the strong management of Waqf. The third one, we have to depoliticize the institutions, Waqf institutions and the assets, because as we know that the Sri Lankan the Waqf board coming under the government, the minister directly. So minister can do many things as he wish. So here, if we want to a real strong Waqf management, we have to depoliticize this system. And also we have to improve the accounting procedures. So there are Waqf assets, a lot of Waqf assets. Some are registered, most of them are unregistered under the Waqf law. So we have to manage all the Waqf assets and bring all of them under the one law and manage properly, especially in the accounting procedures. And also the Waqf management here in Sri Lanka, centralized. There is only one body, including 17, I think 17 members. So only these 17 members only managing all the Waqf in the Sri Lanka. So I think we have to decentralize the administrative mechanism and give the power to the provincial and district areas. So with I also there is another problem, which is the lack of the experts in Sri Lanka to guide the Waqf management in Sri Lanka. So these are some problems and the solution for the challenges we face in Sri Lanka regarding the Waqf. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. Barakallahu fiqh, Doctor. Quite an enlightening presentation. It has a very long history of Waqf in Sri Lanka. Alhamdulillah, they already have the Act of Waqf, but I mean the structure is not well structured yet. But inshallah, with all the challenges like depoliticizing and the registration of asset Waqf, decentralizing that, as you mentioned just now, inshallah, we'll pray and may Allah bless you with all the energy, motivation, and commitment to contribute more for Waqaf in Sri Lanka, inshallah. Okay. I would like to welcome Dr. Muhammad Muinuddin from Bangladesh. He is an associate professor in International Islamic University of Chittagong, one of the prominent figures in Arabic language and literature, and have an extensive experience in Quranic science and Islamic studies. Over to you, Doctor. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Marhabik. Welcome. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa bihi nasta'in. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wa afdalus salat wa atammu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Honorable Moderator, Mr. Ibrahim Adham, respectable speakers of this forum, dear audience, I greet you all the greetings of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Of course, in the beginning, I express my thanks and gratitude to International Institute of Islamic Waqf and especially Indian Subcontinent Waqf Forum for arranging this spacious Waqf program. I will present this short paper on states of Waqf in Bangladesh, regulation and asset and challenge. Honorable Moderator, I would like to take your permission. My paper is too long, so I will not read all of this.
Oh, no problem. As long as you can minutes, inshallah, Doctor.
Yes, I would like to finish my word in due time. Okay, first is the introduction. Please. Yes. Bangladesh has a population of over 160 million. Traditionally, the people of this region are religious, especially the Muslims who are devoted to their religion. Due to devotion of their religion, the Muslims sometimes donate or Waqf property for religious and charitable purpose, following the Muslim laws. But because of lack of proper knowledge, the donation or Waqf is not done properly. Many Muslims do not know the details about Waqf. They even don't know what type of property can be Waqf and how Waqf property can be enlisted. Next page, please. Our engineer Muaz Hisham, next please. Thank you. My paper is three theme. First theme is a legal framework of Waqf management in Bangladesh. Good Waqf management in a country is supported by good regulations or laws. The people of Bangladesh saw the emergence of Waqf law in different stages. The first laws of Waqf were enforced by the British in 1894 through the declaration of the Privy Council, in which family Waqf was made invalid. The act was subsequently repealed and replaced by the Mussalman Waqf Validating Act in 1930. In 1934, the Waqf Act of Bengal was enacted to foster the supervision and protection of the Waqf states through an autonomous and legal organization headed by Waqf Commissioner of Bengal. After the independence of Pakistan in 1947, the Bengal Waqf Act of 1934 was adopted by the Bangladesh, which was known as East Pakistan back then. In 1962, the Waqf Ordinance was enacted without repealing Bengal Waqf Act of 1934. After becoming an independent state in 1971, Bangladesh adopted Waqf Ordinance 1962, which is still governing Waqf administration in Bangladesh. This is shortly, of course, I am not reading rest of this. Next page, please, Mr. Hisham. Waqf management in Bangladesh. Waqf asset in Bangladesh can either be registered or unregistered. It is managed based on its registration status. Ministry of Religious Affairs administers all the registered Waqf properties as the sole trustee. The responsibility of operating the Waqf estates are given to Waqf Bangladesh, a state-owned institution established to assist the Ministry of Religious Affairs. Waqf administration is centralized, in which all decision-making are undertaken at the head office of Waqf Bangladesh in Dhaka. In the case of unregistered Waqf properties, the property is managed by the trustee appointed by the Waqf. The Waqf Ordinance 1962 regulates Waqf estates and related activities in Bangladesh. Second theme is amount of asset in Bangladesh. Office of Bangladesh Waqf Administrator presented the most recent data of the Waqf asset in Bangladesh and illustrated that there are 13,827 Waqf estates all over the country, covering 661,000 acres of land, which is around 1% of the total agricultural land in the nation. The number of Waqf estates increasing gradually. The institution currently has operations in 6 divisions. The divisions are Dhaka, Rajshahi, Chittagong, Khulna, Borishal, and Sylhet. Yes. Next, please. Third theme is challenges of Waqf development in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has large amount of Waqf asset all over the country, but Waqf development is being affected by numerous challenges. Some of them are, first off, lack of proper knowledge. Many Muslims do not know the details about Waqf. They do not
I think there's a problem with Dr. Muainuddin.
Yes, I think that.
Yeah. There he is. Doctor, you mute your mic. Please unmute.
Yes, my net is gone. Okay. Third is lack of relevant laws. Lack of relevant laws. Waqf Ordinance 1962 is only regulation which provides some general guideline for the regulating authority. Instructions regarding the recording procedures can be found in Chapter 4 of the Ordinance, while Chapter 3 and 4 reflects the governance except aspects of workers. Next, please. Mr. Hashim, next page. Okay.
take a lot.
Lack of information on work management has generated a lack of awareness on the development of such states among the general public that might create windows of misrepresentation of work states. Okay. 6, there are some lack of organization and administrative competency, lack of social awareness, illegal occupation, and misappropriation of work properties, operational inefficiency, integrity and qualification of mutawallis, and lack of Sharia and advisory board. This challenge poses serious concern on the governance structure of the Waqf institution in Bangladesh, which is vital for the future growth and sustainability of such institutions. In conclusion, I would like to say, next page, please. However, Waqf institutions are currently serious challenges in Bangladesh. Thus, for the sake of sustaining the existing Waqf endowments and revitalizing this rich Islamic heritage through creating new avenues for further Waqf endowments, the need of the hour is streamlining the managerial, administrative, developmental, and more profitable investment process of Waqf properties through formulating a sustainable policy in this regard. This is shortly and briefly assets and challenges of Waqf in Bangladesh. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallahu fiqh, Doctor. I think a very instructive and informative presentation. There is a lot of information that can be gathered from your presentation. Inshallah, there is always room for improvement for Waqaf development in Bangladesh, inshallah. Further, I would like to welcome Dr. Muhammad Uthman from Pakistan. He's from the Department of Economics, Institute of Business Management. Alhamdulillah, he has done a lot of research and project of Waqaf development before, especially in his area of doctorate, where he did his research of Waqaf financing, investment and development of higher educational institution. Without further ado, over to you, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moderator Ibrahim Adam. I remember in last 2 years, I was in Malaysia being a student, and I was listening all these speakers. So I am again considering myself being a student here. I am learning a lot, but from Pakistani perspective, I will share a few findings today, inshallah. First of all, I would like to thank International Institute of Islamic Waqf, and especially Dr. Sami As-Salihat, Dr. Mustafa, and their team. So let us come to the Aukaf in Pakistan. Initially, I would like to just to clear the concept of Waqf from the one of beginning from the life of Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when Hazrat Umar Radiallahu Ta'ala came to the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he intended to endow his land from Khaybar, and he said to the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, "In shayta habasta aslaha." If you want, preserve the origin one, and tasaddaqta biha, and healed and profit donate. فَتَصَدَّقَ عُمَرْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى عَنْهُ إِنَّهُ لَا يُبَاعُ أَصْلُهَا وَلَا يُهَبُ وَلَا يُورِثُ. In these three conditions, cannot be sold, cannot be gifted, and cannot be inherited. So these conditions create three main principal characteristics in Waqf institution: perpetuity, continuous, irrevocability, permanent, and inalienability, not to be transferred. So in line these characteristics, we can say Waqf permits an individual or an organization to donate his or her asset for an indefinite period of for enabling welfare activities in Muslim communities and extending economic support to individuals and institutions. As a result, Waqf become public property invested with characteristics of perpetuity. That means it cannot be sold, mortgaged, and inherited. From very outset, from the beginning, Waqf has been benefiting a significant segment of a society and contributing to several Waqf welfare activities. So by understanding Waqf concept, let us see what is in Pakistan. So the content of this presentation will be of scope from public and private both type of Waqf in Pakistan, their legal framework, management experience, issues and challenges, and finally policy recommendation. So before starting, I just want to clear the operational definition of public and private Waqaf. In public Waqaf are Waqaf assets that are controlled and centralized by the government are considered to be public Waqaf, while the Waqaf managed by a private individual or organization is referred to as a private Waqaf or decentralized Waqaf. So we have two different type of Waqaf system as compared to Malaysia. The Majlis Agama Islam is sole trustee, but in Pakistan, a private entity can hold Waqaf asset and he can be declare himself as a Waqaf institution. So coming to the legal framework for Waqaf in Pakistan, Waqaf is aligned to the West. Therefore, Waqaf, public and private, both Waqaf are existing. Private Waqaf have a greater role. Private Waqaf are registered as a society, trust, and private limited company. I have 3 case studies: Hamdard Waqaf Laboratories, Aisha Bawani Waqaf, and Darut Tasnif. The first one is registered by Societies Registration Act 1860. The second is registered as a Trust Act 1882. Whereas Darut Tasnif Private Limited is a Waqaf company registered as a Companies Ordinance 1984 of SECP. You can see these are basically Waqaf institution, but legally they are following different framework. The private Waqaf in Pakistan are basically treated as a non-profit organization with 65% of Waqaf and charity institution registered under the Societies Registration Act, which I mentioned in the Hamdard Waqaf Laboratories. And 14.6 is divergent, and the rest of the 20% remain unregistered. So you can see there are still some unregistered Waqaf in Pakistan. Beside the Societies Act, there are other legal options available for Waqaf registration. As I said, trust law and Section 42 of Companies Act 1984, the Security Exchange Commission of Pakistan. So from the private Waqaf, here are some example. From the fundraising, we have 2 type of sources, internal and external. You can see from my 3 case studies, they are more relying on the internal sources. They have their own income sources rather than focusing on the donations and external sources. In internal sources, Hamdard Waqaf have Hamdard Waqaf Laboratories income, and same as they have income in form of rental. Same as Aisha Bawani have a Bawani family business income. They are they are contributing 10% of their profit for the Waqaf. And they also have advertising services, rental. Same as in Darut Tasnif, we have another business group supporting, which is Jafar Group Limited. We also have annual fund from the board of directors and supporters, and same as rental. Just only Darut Tasnif took funding from the government in 1984, 4 million, and somehow they are receiving CSR funding from the cooperatives. In Waqaf asset management in private sector, we have different asset in real estate. We also have financial asset, and we also have different sort of businesses. In Hamdard Waqaf, they have 35-acre land, and if you compare to the business, you can see 500 herbal product producing by the Hamdard Waqaf. So this is the major source of their income, and they also have the financial asset. If you come to the Aisha Bawani, They are more focusing on the real estate. They have multi-purpose 12-story building, and same as they have commercial and residential buildings, earning coming from there. Same as they are also participating in some sort of business. Similar for the Darut Tasnif, they have land. They also have a one commercial fuel station and commercial buildings. So income is coming from them. They also have some sort of financial investment. Let's come to the income utilization, as we are focusing on the private sector. From the same case studies, they have development expenditure from the work of institution. They have various educational institution. I am not naming the name here, just only present in the slide. They are sufficient in these three case studies. They are sufficient in operational expenses, and same as they are contributing in academia support. They have local international scholarship, they have publications, they have medical facilities, and some others also. Let us come to the public Awqaf controlled by the government. This is the map of Pakistan. You can see we have 4 provinces, Sindh, Balochistan, Punjab, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We also have one state, Azad Kashmir, part of Kashmir. We also have a new province, Gilgit-Baltistan. So what is the role of the government? Let us see Awqaf Department. We have Awqaf Department as an autonomous body of provisional department. It generates income from Waqf properties, commercial and agriculture. The basic objective of this department is to manage and generate its sources from commercial and agriculture Waqf properties. The income generated is utilized for the repair, maintenance, construction of masjid, shrines under the administrative control of Awqaf department. It executes a religious welfare charitable activities beside payment of salaries to the staff of the department. The Awqaf department is headed by the chief administrator and supporting staff such as administrator Awqaf. The administrator handles day-to-day affair of the department. So let us come to the legal framework for public Awqaf. As I told about the different provinces in state, in Punjab we have Punjab Waqf Properties Ordinance 1979. Same we have for the Sindh 79. Same we have for the Pakhtunkhwa 1979. For Azad Kashmir we have Azad Jammu Kashmir Waqf Properties Act 1960. For Islamabad we have Federal Awqaf Control Act 1976. And newly they just announced Islamabad Capital Territory Waqf Act 2020. In Balochistan, we don't have any department, any information, but we have 2 mosques and graveyard as its property. In Gilgit-Baltistan, it is new province in Pakistan declared. Previously, it was considered as a part of federal territory. So, as we know, as about the data, we will just focus on first 4 rows. So we will not consider Balochistan, we will not consider Gilgit-Baltistan, and the reason is that in Gilgit-Baltistan and Balochistan we do not have enough information. So come to the revenue generation. They are getting rent from commercial and residential properties. They have cash boxes. They have shoe keeping, flower shops, toilets contracts. They have fee on transfer of payment, commercial and residential properties, which is equal to 50-month rent in the charge. You can say it is one sort of leasing, sale of publications, and lease of agricultural land. Now come to the individual provinces. In list below is the total property lease out in different sectors. Notified land is 70 we are discussing about Punjab, 74,964 acre in Punjab, in which agriculture have cultivable to 29,927 acres. Uncultivable is 45,057 acres, whereas in the commercial we have a commercial area 363 acres, and commercial area 149 canals. We have 6,179 shops, houses 1,426, and we have graveyard 3,151 acre approximately land for this. I am just mentioning from the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, another province, because the data is a lot, information a lot available. We have developmental projects, we have commercial properties from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we have agriculture properties, we have different shrines. So you can see from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we have Oqaf Plaza, we have Oqaf Darul Oqaf, we have office complex, we also have auditorium, we also have shopping centers, shopping plazas. So we have different real estate projects from where they are getting enough amount of revenue. From the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we have total 78 mosques. Let's come to the Sindh. You can see in this table, it is from the Sindh. You can see number of shops, 2,135, number of houses, 1,625, number of plots, so on. So we also have agricultural land here, 10,912 acres. So these all information available from the different provinces from where they are generating their resources. The last case from the from the Kashmir. Total shrine we have 61. Total notified land is 3,067 canals. We also have one higher education institution for Islamic studies. We have number of employees 449. Further, we have land in different cities, and total we have 3,067 canal and 12 marla. So this is land and real estate from the Azad Kashmir. So come to the income utilization from these assets, whatever they are earning, whatever they are receiving revenue, they are in spending on the madaris, to schools, to hospital. Jahez mean for the dowry, for the same as we have langar. In shrines we have three time of food. We have different dispensaries, facilitation center. We have training and capacity building workshops. We have different shrines and mosques. So all the development and operating expenses are bear from the income of these different commercial and agricultural land revenues. So finally, issues and challenges. In the government side, we are facing a lack of incorporation and legal framework, as told from other speakers, same as we are also facing the same issue. Limited tax exemption on utilities, all services Waqf institution has to pay full form of taxes. We also have high certification fees. For every Waqf institution has to take certification from the PCP, Pakistan Certification Philanthropic Center for Pakistan, and they have to pay 5% of their annual budget, which is very huge. So this is very difficult for the Waqf institution especially. So lack of mutual cooperation among the public institution, and finally inconsistent policies. As in 1971, Pakistan adopted the nationalization policy. So in this policy, we took all private institution, including Oqaf, as and nationalized them. Still some of the, although from the 1990, we are following the policy of privatization, but still some of the Waqf assets are under the are occupied by the government. The current law, which is also have some critical issues, that in this law, administrator have full right. He can hold any kind of Waqf asset, and we cannot claim any into the court. Within a Waqf institution, we have challenges of lack of proper audit. We have lack of transparency and credibility. We also facing the misperception regarding Islamic financial institutions. Some people still believe it is not purely Islamic. Lack of diversification in Waqf management. They are still following the conventional method. They are still using the real estate form of investment. Same as lack of infrastructure development, lack of research and development in especially higher education. Waqf institution, if they have any sort of copyrights patent, they are not following properly the rules. Same as lack of the specialization in the human resource, especially Waqf institution feel lack of human skills. under the society, we can see that we have a lack of awareness in the society. People don't understand the concept of waqf. They believe that waqf is only for masjid, but they could not realize it can be a hospital, it can be a welfare institution, it can be anything else, any public good. So misunderstanding about the Sharia also. So these are the issues and challenges facing in Pakistan. So finally, policy recommendation underline these issues and challenges in line with Sharia. Robust laws and regulatory framework are imperative for public and private Awqaf separately. Legitimately, there is a more need to define what is the binding in the Waqf are, what should be the characteristic of Waqf, what should be the auxiliaries for the purpose of Waqf, to whom can be assigned the responsibility of being mutawalli. Government officers should aware about the concept of waqf and be supportive in term of enforcing and regulating waqf institution for a noble cause. Waqf as a source of public welfare institution should be exempted from all form of taxes to ensure the expansion of Waqf institution for socio-economic development, as I said, in issues and challenges. Within a Waqf institution, good governance require highly qualified, competent staff that should be possess good managerial interpersonal skills. Waqf needs to establish 3 different departments for Waqf development, including fundraising, fund management, and income utilization. A well-reputed and established Waqf institution has required a proper system in order to audit and manage their accounts, and sometimes have to present in front of their supporter donors to get confidence and extra increase in donations. The role of Islamic financial institution is very important. They can play a great role by introducing products and services for Waqf development. Finally, to create awareness in the society, there is a great need to take strong measures through print media, introducing Waqf being a part of the third sector in the educational curriculum at primary and secondary level. These are the basic references and sources from where I took and developed this presentation. Finally, thank you all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah khair. Doctor, thank you very much. Informative and educating presentation. Alhamdulillah. I think it is a very good development in Pakistan where the private institution can be the manager of Waqf. I think moving forward, like Malaysia and other country, I think we cannot wait for the governments to initiate things. The private institution can play a larger role in the development of Waqf. But however, should be an audit body from the government to audit this private Waqf institution so that they will abide to the rules and regulation of law of Waqf. Inshallah, may Allah bless you and your commitment to contribute further for the Waqf sector in Pakistan. Thank you, Doctor.
Amin. Amin. Jazakumullah.
Okay. Last but not least, I would like to welcome Sister Aisha Sama from Maldives. She is the lecturer of Maldives National University. She is also the member of State Internal Audit Committee, Ministry of Finance and Treasury, Government of Maldives. She has a very comprehensive knowledge and proficiency in Islamic finance as well as government and state familiarity. Without further ado, over to you, Dr. Aisha.
Not a doctor yet, but hopefully soon.
Sorry, Sister Aisha.
Thank you, brother. Let me share my screen.
Yes, you can.
I hope my screen is okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Thank you very much for the organizers of this Indian Subcontinent Waqf Forum, International Institute of Islamic Waqf. Today I'm going to focus on Waqf in Maldives. So Maldives, some people don't know where Maldives is. We're a very small nation. It is a Muslim country in the Indian Ocean, consisting of around 1,200 islands, only 200 of which are inhabited. And the people of Maldives has embraced Islam in the 12th century. And with Islam, with mosques came Waqf into the Maldives. That was, we can see documents mentioned in Waqf, which can be dated to the 12th century itself. And the assets and purpose of these old Awqaf varied. There were direct Waqfs, indirect Waqfs, all kinds of Awqaf were there. I'll be discussing more into these old Awqaf in the coming slides. In recent times, the concept of Waqf has been promoted as a socio-economic tool, and new Waqf properties has been developed, and more Awqaf properties are to be developed in the near future. Now, there is no law or regulation governing Awqaf in the Maldives at the moment, but the administration of Waqf properties right now is by default with the Ministry of Islamic Affairs, and as all the religious affairs come under the purview of the ministry. Ministry of Islamic Affairs is in the process right now of drafting a bill for regulating Waqf. Although I say that there is no regulation per se, there has been court judgments. We can see documents, all documents relating to court judgments regarding this establishment of Waqf, and also the assignment of a trustee or a custodian. And this can be observable from historical documents. Now, with respect to the management experience, currently there are two performing Awqaf, which is Darul Iman, which is currently managed by Ministry of Islamic Affairs, and Tawlimi Fund, which is an educational fund, which is currently being managed by Ministry of Education. It is unknown whether professional managers manage these funds or not, although there are there is specific departments within these ministries managing these funds. Now, first, I want to look into the old Awqaf properties and their purpose under performance. So we have something called Isdu Loma Fund, which is a land grant. It's grant, not grant. Land grant in it is in our local language. Loma Fund is basically a land grant, and this is dated to 1191, so 12th century. And this is a monogram, and here we have this is one of the earliest existing records in Maldives, which documents the endowment of land and its usufruct for the maintenance of Isdu Mosque. So this is what I mean by with mosques, Waqf came into Maldives. So in order to establish this mosque, after the establishment, or shall I say, along with the establishment of Isdu Mosque, the king at the time mandated that the maintenance of this mosque is to be maintained using basically benefits that can be cowrie shells, that can be coir rope, whatever, in the plot of land that was assigned to this particular mosque. Now, from my research, I have found that the disposals of land revenue in Waqf have been made by the kings of Maldives from time to time as religious benefactions on edicts. There were two kinds according to HCP Bell. So the first was to grants to mosques and shrines, and then there were grants to private individuals subject to preemptory obligation of making due provisions for the upkeep of mosques or shrines as first charge against the produce of the land consigned. Unfortunately, the maintenance, before I go to that point, I want to mention that there is different types of Waqfs in these old Awqaf. We have direct and indirect Waqfs. We have Waqf properties that are immovable and movable properties. We have public Waqfs, we have family Waqfs, and we have combined Waqfs, and we have seen some cash Waqfs as well amongst these old Awqaf. Unfortunately, the maintenance and performance of these Awqaf is in question, as there has been no official research to document all such Awqaf, and also to understand how these Awqaf has been lost to time. I mean, right now there is no register as to which I could access where all of these Awqaf were maintained, and we don't know actually what happened to these old Awqaf. What we know is that for even for one Awqaf, I know that this whole island was considered as Awqaf. The rent was for the benefit of a mosque, and this whole island now is a resort right now. So I don't know from the Awqaf whether still the rental is being received from the current current resort or not. That is unclear. If we look at the contemporary Awqaf properties and their purposes, we have Darul Iman, which is established in 2017. It is an office complex whose revenue is to be used in the maintenance of mosques throughout the country. And it is expected to generate 5.2 million rupiah, which is around 337,000 US dollars per year. And Ministry of Islamic Affairs has plans to build such office complexes in 5 more islands. So these complexes are going to generate rental income for the benefit of the local, population, the local population in these islands. Next, we have Taulimi Fund or Education Fund. Taulimi means Divehi. I mean, in education in Divehi, which was established in 1956. This was a fund. It is still being used to provide education opportunities and housing for people in the education sector. It is a huge fund. Another office complex by Islamic University of Maldives is in the process of being built. Again, this office complex is going to generate revenue, which is going to be used for education purposes by Islamic University of Maldives. Now, unfortunately, there is no public data available with respect to the performance of both of these Awqaf, but I know that Taulimi Fund has been audited by a private party. That for sure I know, but those documents, those financial statements and annual reports are not available for public use right now at the moment. As the other respected speakers mentioned, almost all of the challenges that I have outlined in my presentation is basically, almost all of them are same. The other, respected scholars have mentioned all of these things. In my opinion, I think awareness and education with respect to Waqf's powerful social economic impact has to be, spread among the public, not only amongst the, respective academics or heads of institutions. This has to be something that is known by everybody, the importance and the powerful nature of the institution of Waqf. Now, it is not only limited to Waqf, but I understand the institution of public marketplace, whether it is the institution of Nafaga or whether it is the institution of Zakah. These powerful socio-economic institution has to be made aware with, through education. I think that is a really important thing, because if the masses understand the important nature of these things, they can actually drive the regulation. They can also drive the development of these powerful institutions. I believe that academic research on the structure, functions, and authority of the regulatory institutions or ministry which is responsible for Awqaf affairs is also needed, so that the best practices which are available in the old Awqaf as well as the current Awqaf can be incorporated by the regulatory institution. Academic researches in terms of techniques of managing Awqaf and also accounting procedures of Awqaf need to be conducted, not specifically in Maldives. it needs to be a global effort, because during my research, I have found out that although there are, countries where the development of Aukaf is prevalent, they still find that lack of, information regarding the management of Aukaf and also accounting procedures is a hindrance to the development of Aukaf. Also, I believe that extensive research locally needs to be done to identify the old Aukaf and also Aukaf that might have been lost due to lack of records, and we need to invigorate this Aukaf. I understand that there's going to be some legal and technical, not technical per se, but legal hurdles that we might have to go through. But then again, these are Aukaf from the time of kings in Maldives. So we need to reinvigorate them. Coordinated effort for the establishment of a Waqf registry and protections under law for these Aukaf. So once the Ministry of Islamic Affairs finishes, the draft of the regulation, and also once it passes the parliament, and once the president ratifies it, we will be having those protections. But a Waqf registry is also something that needs to be established. The next way forward that I think is also the institutionalization or institutionalizing professional management of Aukaf, and also transparency in reporting of operational and financial performance of Aukaf. I believe that Aukaf, whether it is privately held or publicly held, is a public affair, and there needs to be transparency in reporting not only the financial performance but also the operational performance of Aukaf. Then only we'll be able to see what kind of development or developmental areas that we need to focus on with respect to the development of this institution. And also, I believe creation of independent supervisory regulatory body for Aukaf is needed. So this has to be different from the ministry or the regulatory institution that maintains these Aukafs or has the regulatory authority over these Aukaf. But I believe that an independent supervisory regulatory body needs to be there in order for these Aukaf to be maintained properly. I have some references. So these are some references that I used in preparing this particular presentation. And I give thanks to International Institute of Islamic Waqf for allowing me to provide my contribution to this important topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sister. It is a very esteemed presentation. I can say that although Maldives is a respectively smaller country compared to the other neighboring countries, there is a lot of improvement can be explored further. As also the bill of Waqf is also coming soon, inshallah. May Allah bless you and the people of Maldives. Okay, I would like to call upon Dr. Hisham Daftardar. As I have mentioned before that he's the member of the International Advisory Body of the International Institute of Islamic Waqf, and he also the lecturer of Waqf at the Bahrain Institute of Banking and Financial Studies. He's also the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Australian Aukaf Foundation and a member of Board of Trustees of the New Zealand Endowments. With all this extensive experience, we would like to have him to comment for today presentation, to give his much needed comment, advice and guidance for all the information and knowledge that has been presented today. Inshallah, over to you, Dr. Hisham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim Adham, Dr. Ibrahim. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. First of all, I would like to thank the International Institute for Islamic Waqf and the organizing committee for making this webinar possible. and for inviting me also to comment on the presentations of this forum. I also thank you, Mr. Moderator, Dr. Ibrahim Adham, for your excellent management of this seminar. And I also thank the presenters, and really each one deserves to be thanked by name for their valuable contribution. Common constraints, common issues, common challenges, and there is also a common message. This is probably because they share the same background. Awqaf in all these countries, they are the countries of the Indian subcontinent. They trace their roots to the introduction of Islam in the first century, first Hijri century. And when we talk about India in this historical context, we are talking about British India, which included today's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and all the countries that we have listened to. Now, the colonial government in those countries maintained tight control over the registration and management of Awqaf. The laws that regulated Awqaf at that time, they avoided any direct conflict with Sharia principles as far as the Waqf assets and the Waqif and the beneficiaries, the Mawquf. The Nazir or the Mutawalli activities. Now, this policy seems to a large extent has continued by the governments after independence. The governments in all these countries still maintain, a tight grip over Awqaf, as we just heard. Now, Awqaf in these countries, they all face similar constraints, listening to them, similar challenges. One thing that is common is that there is no reliable database of the real size of Awqaf, mainly because probably, a lot of these Awqaf, as we heard, are unregistered. Now, a waqf that is unregistered is being exposed to, to loss, to being taken over. It's just like, having something without a name. And this is a danger in its own right. So we cannot effectively monitor and develop Awqaf if they are not registered. Any developer who wants to come, he wants to see registration, he wants to see for this is probably the fear that if a waqf is registered, it will be subject to increased government control, regulations, and so on. That many people, then they will establish Awqaf. They simply will not have them registered, and in due course, they may even get lost, confiscated, encroached upon, trespassed, whatever. Other challenges that seem to be common is, and this is not only for Awqaf, and by the way, in the Indian subcontinent, but also generally, and that is, it includes the lack of, skilled and adequate manpower, knowledgeable manpower. There is lack of organizational discipline in many cases, and there is a lack of, administrative competency. There is lack of social awareness of Awqaf. These are all, problems that are common in these challenges. They pose serious concern on the governance structure of Awqaf as an institution, and they have effectively, significantly affected the trust among stakeholders. People, are generous. Muslims are generous. They want to contribute. They want to donate, but they want at the same time to be sure that their waqf will be there long after they leave this life. And this can only be assured by having proper system of registration, proper system of development. Also, we just heard that there are a lot of Awqaf that remain undeveloped. I want to say this: an undeveloped waqf is not an asset; it is a liability. It's the other way, and this is very, very dangerous. Because then nobody wants to own it, and that will leave it open to manipulation and that the culture and the practice of giving and helping the needy, this is ingrained in the Muslim character, and this is what is keeping Awqaf, going on in spite of all these challenges. Otherwise, we would have, lost all of our Awqaf. But thanks to this, inbred attitude, this faith in Awqaf that is keeping, Awqaf live and thriving even today, in spite of all the impediments and all the constraints and challenges. There is also, nobody touched on it, but I must mention that there is a new challenge and new opportunities that are coming to Awqaf, and this is the challenges, the opportunities and challenges that are coming with the and we cannot stop it, and it is coming into all sectors, and Awqaf is not immune from this. But we have to be prepared to manage this new technology. So this will put extra effort on the Nazirs to make sure that they understand this technology and they prepare themselves and their organizations to cope with it. There is, a risk of leaving Awqaf undeveloped. Lucky enough, in many countries now, the Islamic banking is getting established. In Pakistan, we know that Islamic banks now have opened opportunities for Awqaf that they can extend financing for development. The same can be said about India. the Maldives, for instance, there is a lot of help that is coming, financial help to develop Aukaf that is coming also from Kuwait and the other, the rich countries of the Gulf are ready to help, but we have to show them, that we are really up to the challenge, that the money will not be just spent and wasted. Because I was looking at a report by EY, and it showed that it confirmed, what Dr. Rahman Khan mentioned about the number of Waqf and 600,000 acres of land and so on. They're all having, something like a book value. It was quoted at 1.2. But the market value is many, many fold of this figure. And unfortunately, with all this wealth that we are walking on, is generating very, very little return. We are talking about, they estimated that this is a report from EY that was done in 2008, and they estimated that there is in India alone something like $75 billion worth of Aukaf, which has the potential of generating in excess of $3 billion, but the actual income that is coming from this is less than 2%. So this is because of non-development, and this comes back to what I was talking about, leaving the Aukaf undeveloped and the Aukaf becoming a liability on the government rather than being, a support. Many of these governments and these, they share the same problems as us. Missing economic strides, but unfortunately, the Muslim side, they don't seem to be part of this. The only thing, their hope is to develop their Aukaf. Aukaf will be, the answer to the Muslims in these countries. Because you see, in many, Sri Lanka is the same. Sri Lanka, unfortunately, the Muslims are the meat in the sandwich between the Tamil and the Sinhalese. In India, they are exposed to anti-Islamic rhetoric, a lot of it, and therefore they've been marginalized. So the only thing that, the hope for our Muslim communities in these countries, where especially they are minority, but actually they are not, Indian Muslims, although they are minority compared to the rest of the country, but they are, a majority. There are more Muslims than many Muslim countries put together in India. So the only hope, and our only hope, our personal identity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallahu fiqh. Alhamdulillah, we really appreciate with your input and refreshing feedbacks. I would say kind of a visionary opinion and thinking ahead of time, especially when you said that we have to be prepared for the implementation of technology in Waqf sector. And you also mentioned that the wealthy Gulf nation are ready to help. However, we have to be ready with the challenge ahead. How to generate further the value of Waqf. Inshallah, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Indeed, I think I think it is a very encouraging to hear all the reports and issues from all various speakers. Like Dr. Hisham mentioned, that all panels should be thanked by name to hear how the progress taking place and how Waqf sector is growing in various countries, yet with all the challenges that they have. I think this webinar will act as a stepping stone for further collaboration for all parties. Today is only for the understanding. Inshallah, tomorrow is for acting and more action-oriented. As we are in the process of upward swing, and Waqf have the civilizational role to play. As also Dr. Hisham mentioned that we need to understand that Waqf is an economic tools that can be the catalyst of the developmental and Waqf have the civilizational role to play in the Muslim world. Inshallah, there is a various challenges that they need to be addressed internationally, as been mentioned by all the respective speakers. One of the major issue, as mentioned, which is education and Waqf understanding. I think more work need to be done collectively from all institutions to produce more literatures, programs, videos, and materials. I think that will be the end of forums. All the respect, especially Dr. Naim Muhyiddin, if you refer to the question and answer, there is a question from Mr. Zainul Abidin that need for you to be answered. And also, Mr. Zainul Abidin mentioned that to all presenters, excellent insight in your respective countries. Would be great if the papers can be shared to the, there is waqafacademy.org. Please send your research papers to Hasanain Aukaf South Africa.org.za based in South Africa. The email can be referred to question and answer. Also for knowledge and awareness, encourage everyone to enroll for the free course on waqafacademy.org. I think that will be the end of the forum. This forum, which organized by International Institute of Waqf, Islamic Waqf, is a much needed platform for Waqf community around the world to get the benefit and speed up their Waqf development so that all Muslim communities all over the world could organize and structure themselves better. I think it is a really wonderful webinar and a very fruitful one. I would like to thank everyone, all of you, all attendees, all participants, all speakers, Dr. Hisham as commenter, also the organizer, Waqf Dialogue Forum and International Institute of Islamic Waqf, and special mention to Dr. Sami Salahat and Dr. Mustafa. Thank you very much. I think that will be the end. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.